Going inside the issues of our community, this is Local 12 Newsmakers.
I think the elections demonstrated that they can carry out democracy.
Talk about a roller coaster ride. On March 19th last year, Paul Hackett returned from a tour of duty in Iraq with the Marines. Almost immediately threw himself into a furious special election campaign for Congress and came close to beating the Republican candidate Gene Schmidt in the overwhelmingly Republican 2nd District, gaining national attention.
I mean, is this not America? Where the hell else does a guy get off the plane coming back from a combat tour in Iraq, and then 4 months later, you guys are interested in what I have to say, and I got congressmen and women calling me up on my cell phone, congratulating me. Only in America, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. That notoriety became the basis for a decision in October to throw his hat into the ring for the U.S. Senate with the goal of unseating Mike DeWine. When Northern Ohio Congressman Sherrod Brown announced that he would challenge Paul Hackett in the upcoming May primary, things got complicated. The bottom line result was that Democratic rising star Paul Hackett withdrew from the race about 10 days ago, indicating that he may also be washing his hands of electoral politics. On that wild ride this past year, I am sure that Paul Hackett learned a lot about politics in America in the 21st century. That's why I'm joined this morning by Mr. Hackett, who's returning to his life as an attorney to talk about the insights and lessons of that past year. Paul, welcome back.
Thanks so much, Dan. Yes, where else than in America?
That's right.
What an incredible ride.
I wouldn't have expected that this was the next time you were going to be on this show. I had already had this penciled in for about a month from now, or a month and a half from now. So what is the main what is it that you learned that the average American voter, citizen, doesn't know about politics? The ones who even care about politics, what don't we know that you've learned?
I would say probably the number one thing that I learned is that what we hear about raising money is really true in politics, and it is it's a huge challenge, and it's sort of the ugly underbelly of politics. And without that money, it doesn't matter how great your ideas are or bad your ideas are, you're not going to have an opportunity to communicate them effectively in your campaign.
What's that mean to the candidate to raise money? What did you have to do?
Geez. It's just so much time spent on the phone. And you know, I'm not unique. It's for everybody who wants to really involve themselves or herself at this level. You literally have to spend 6 or 7 hours a day on the phone, or 6 or 7 hours a day doing something to raise money. And then after doing that for 6 or 7 hours during the day, you have to turn out to an event and put behind all the bad stuff or negatives or just inability to raise money out of your head and go invigorate a group of people to get excited about the process.
When you are raising money and you're calling somebody on the phone, I mean, one of the concerns is there's always quid pro quos.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who wants potentially giving you money, are they saying, okay, I'm willing to support you, but here's what I want?
No, I mean, I never had that conversation for sure. Maybe there were one or two occasions on the road where I sort of had that feeling, but most of the time, people are sincerely interested in who you are and what you've got to say, and they want to help you get there. And whether it's a $10 contribution or a $2,100 contribution, they're doing it because they share, you know, your interests in politics.
Political parties abhor primaries. I mean, and it's not just Democrats,
so
it's Republicans. Because it beats, members of the same party beat each other up because it absorbs financial resources.
Sure.
Can you construct, though, an argument why primaries are a good thing?
Well, I think primaries are a good thing because it really, it's sort of like a warm-up match for the eventual race, and they are a good thing. There are negatives about them, but I tend to think that probably the positives outweigh the negatives. In my particular case, I got involved in the Senate race with a lot of cajoling and lobbying from Senator Schumer and Senator Reid, because at the time when I was being lobbied and got into the race, there was nobody else in the Democratic side.
These national leaders were coming to you
Right.
and saying, after your race against Gene Schmidt,
Right.
we want you to run for Senate.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't my idea.
You weren't out there running ahead of that?
No, I got to tell you, no. I was, after the congressional race, I was really looking forward to getting back to my wife and my 3 kids. And
With the thought that you might run again?
in the second. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think at that point, what was running through my mind is, hey, this is great. This was a fantastic experience in the congressional race. I've got 5 or 6 months to get back to the family, and then next spring.
So Schumer and Reid come after you and say, we want you to take on Mike DeWine.
Yes.
Nobody else in the primary. Sherrod Brown ever say to you, I'm not going to get in the primary?
Well, Senator Reid actually recommended it. To answer the question, yes, he said that he wasn't going to. But on the recommendation of Senator Reid, I went up to D.C. and met with Sherrod and asked him. At the time, it really didn't make sense to me. In retrospect, it does. And Senator Reid had said, you know, Sherrod had looked at this race. He's bowed out of it. You probably should talk to him to find out why he bowed out and to make sure that he has bowed out. And at that meeting, he said, I'm not in, and I'll support you, Hackett. You know, that's just politics. That is not, I think it's sort of gotten overplayed a little bit. To me, that's life, that's politics. I'm not a politician.
Now, let me play this out, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so he says that to you, you announce, then he announces.
Right.
So he's changed his mind.
Right. And how that changed the dynamics for me, obviously, is I went from really a neophyte in this process who jumped in with the encouragement of the leaders who said, we're going to help you get there, we're going to help you raise the money. So now I'm kind of this new guy who's got to go out there and meet this incredible hurdle of money raising, and we actually were doing a great job, and in the last quarter raised an equal amount to Sherrod Brown. The difference, though, was I did not come in to the primary with the ability to roll $2 million from a congressional campaign as Sherrod did. So it made a huge financial hurdle in the next 6 weeks.
Looking back on this, and now that you're more seasoned,
Yeah.
once he came into the race, should you have pulled out at that point?
Well,
and said, you
there
know,
were-
the realities are, this isn't it?
There was sort of this undercurrent that, hey, we want you to do that. It was never expressed. And on my staff and in my family, we talked a lot about that. And at that point, I said, let's give it a shot. We're in here. Let's see if we can do this. And I think we were doing a pretty good job. But then we reached the point where we were leading up to the filing, which is effectively 6 weeks.
Right.
Away from the time you have to have your media bought.
Yeah.
And in that 6 weeks, I basically had about a $3 million goal to make. And then I look back at the 6 weeks preceding, and I hadn't raised $3 million in the preceding 6 weeks. So my options were, do I stay in here and not have the money to potentially be successful and just stay in for the sake of staying in? And I decided it's probably not, it's a tough decision, but probably not the wisest.
A lot of people have speculated, based on your announcement that you were pulling out of this race, that you were also pulling out of electoral politics. Is that true?
Well, I'm you know, people I think make a bigger deal about that than they should. I mean, I'm not a career politician. I'm not a professional politician. I'm actually kind of proud of that. And so yeah, I have no intention to run for politics again. Not because I've got sour grapes, but because, yeah, I want to go back to my normal good life.
You don't have any intention to, but you're saying, who knows?
No, I'm not trying to be cute. As I sit here today, I have no plans.
Okay.
I don't really see it in my future, but that's not sour grapes. It's just...
But 2 years ago, you wouldn't have seen it in your future
Yeah,
either.
that's true. Yeah,
So,
that's really
okay.
true.
All right,
So-
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, right.
Now, part of what is being talked about out there on the internet
Yeah.
is that there was this whispering campaign.
Yeah, right.
Was there a whispering campaign
Oh, yeah.
going on? And
Yeah.
what was the content of that whispering campaign?
Well, you know, to ask me the content, I can give you the subject matter.
It was that
It questioned my service in Iraq, which just, I served honorably, and it just man, I can't use my foul language on your show, but it just makes me burning mad that anybody would question my service in Iraq. And the allegations that I've heard in different forms are utterly false and preposterous. And I'll come back here and sit on this stage. I'll go anywhere and sit down with anybody who claims that I did not serve honorably.
And I want to make it clear, I want to ask the question directly.
Yeah.
Were you involved in any sort of abuse situation?
Absolutely not.
Illegal
Absolutely
situation?
not.
War crime
Absolutely
situation?
preposterous.
Okay.
And to me, it's just outrageous that anybody would float that, and I know who floated it, and it did come from
Who floated it?
One of Sherrod Brown's senior staff people.
So it came out of that campaign?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And what's his name?
You know, I know his name, but honestly, I'm not sure.
Was it a campaign director?
I'm not sure exactly what his title was. He is a senior guy. He, in fact, helped me in my
still
congressional.
there?
I don't think so. I don't think so. My understanding was earlier this week he had either changed hats or left the campaign, and I'm not sure under what circumstances. But it just makes me burning mad. And
when this started, did you pick up the telephone and call Sherrod Brown and say, damn it, I'm not going to, you know, this is beyond?
I'll tell you how it started. How I first heard about it was through Senator Reid's office, and Senator Reid called me up and alerted me to it. And I went up to D.C. and met with Senator Reid and Senator Schumer to talk to them about it. And I told them where it was coming from. They knew where it was coming from. And they said they'll take care of it. And I understood that to mean that they were going to go talk to Sherrod Brown and put an end to it. Well, I'm assuming that they put a stop to the continual spread of it, but it's sort of like tossing seeds out in the wind. You can't go collect up all the seeds and you know, put them all down. So the seeds are out there, and even as recently as January of this year, I was still getting occasional phone calls, and I'd travel around the state, and I would hear that, and I have to spend my time and my energy telling people that it's utterly false and preposterous. And, you know, I mean, it's just, you know what's bad about it is that, number one, it discourages non-politicians like myself from engaging in the process. It discourages veterans from engaging in the process, and I happen to think that both veterans and non-professional politicians have a lot to contribute to the process.
And in fact, you were the first who was a candidate for Congress.
Right.
There was actually, and I'm going to forget his name, and I apologize, running in the Republican primary, who was also an Iraq war vet. Gene Schmidt beat him. I can't remember.
No. He was not
the
an
Navy
Iraq
guy.
No. He was not an Iraq war vet, and that's not to slam him. He is a veteran, a Navy veteran, but he didn't wear the ribbons of somebody who had served in combat in Iraq. So
well, anyway,
minor
be that
distinguishment.
As it, okay, be that as it may. Now there are quite a few Iraq war vets, and one of the interesting.
There's 12.
12. One of the interesting patterns is I read about this, and I don't know every one of those, is they tend to be running as Democrats.
11 of the 12 are running as Democrats.
How do you read that?
Well, I think that, first of all, the veterans coming back on such short notice and running, I think it really reflects on our desire to serve the country, really more than anything else. And I think it probably reflects a disagreement with this administration on the management and the execution of the war in Iraq, and that's probably about it. You know, many of us, you know, even if you look at me, many would say some of my views are more conservative than, you know, the traditional left wing of the Democratic Party, and I think probably if you looked at most of the vets running, we tend to have an independent libertarian streak.
We're taping this on Friday morning, and it airs on Sunday, so who knows what's going to happen over the next 48 hours. But things are in a very difficult situation in Iraq over the last few days with the bombing of the Golden Mosque. What do you see as happening to American policy here?
Well, you know, as I've said for 11 months when people are paying attention, that the situation on the ground in Iraq is not getting better. And I'm sorry to be the one to be the bearer of bad news, but it's a simple reality. The situation on the ground in Iraq for the 3 years that we've been there has progressively gotten worse. And you know, I share the same interests as every other American to want to see a positive result there, and I want to believe that something positive can happen there.
And 11 months ago, with that little clip at the top, you were still hopeful.
Yeah. The unfortunate reality is, militarily, we have accomplished what can be accomplished there. And for 11 months, I've been saying, folks, it's already civil war there, and it's progressively and objectively getting worse on the ground. And I think really the last 72 hours has highlighted that.
Paul, what would you recommend to Democratic voters who supported you in the upcoming election? Given what you've said about Sherrod Brown, given this experience that you've had, people that were committed to you, what do you say about it?
Get involved in the process, because involvement in the process, particularly by those of us who are not career and professional politicians, it's my belief, will enhance the process, cleanse the process, and that's how we will eventually make change.
Does that mean vote for Sherrod Brown?
I'm not endorsing him.
You're not endorsing?
I've not been asked to. I'm not a career politician. I'm not running for anything. And I'll be blunt and say I don't like the man, and I don't like what he's done to me. And I suspect if he's done it to me, he will do it to other vets. And that's not what we need in Washington, D.C. We need people, frankly, who will support the vets on all fronts.
Thank you very much for being here this morning.
Appreciate it.
More importantly, thank you for your service
to
this
pleasure.
country in all different ways, and look forward to service in the future too.
Thanks very much,
Stay
Dan.
involved.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Stay tuned. After a break, a grassroots volunteer effort to expand free wireless service in Greater Cincinnati. Welcome back. 12 years ago, the symbol of whether a city was technologically modern was how many households could dial up internet service. 5 years ago, it became access to high-speed internet lines. Today, it's all about wireless access. Locally, a grassroots effort is working to cultivate lily pads of free wireless access on the regional pond. Recently, they unveiled a major expansion of that service. On March 1st, LilyPad, the Art Museum, the Cincinnati Museum Center, and Metro will activate a new service that will turn the cultural institutions into free hotspots, and Metro buses will spread the word across town about the new services. To discuss the LilyPad project, I am joined now by 3 of the LilyPad Steering Committee members. Jody McIntosh, who works on sponsorships and legal issues, is with Fifth Third Bank. Rob Thornton, who focuses on implementation and works for Verizon Business, works on sponsorships and public relations. And then Dacia Snyder,
yes,
who works for DCI and works on sponsorships and public relations. And there we go. We're all here. Thank you for coming this morning. This is really an interesting project. Dacia, what is LilyPad in the big sense?
In the big sense, it was the brainchild of the Cincinnati USA's Regional Leadership Forum. It was a project of the 2004 class that landed with Give Back Cincinnati to implement these free wireless installations throughout the greater Cincinnati region. We partner with Time Warner Cable to do this. We are a 100% volunteer-driven organization.
And that's why I wanted to identify that all of you with your various businesses, because this is something you do as a volunteer because you're committed to it. We may assume that everybody knows about wireless and what that means, but in these places, these pads, these hotspots, what will people actually be able to do?
It's actually fairly simple. All you do is open up your handheld PDA or your wireless laptop, launch your internet site. And
your normal internet service?
Yep, and it will bring up a list of all the possible free wireless connections that you could tap into. Most of those are going to be secured and locked down, private residential wireless connections. In that list, you actually see one that says LilyPad Hop On Free Wireless. You double click on that, it takes you to a user agreement page, you click agree, and then it takes you into the splash page where all the sponsors are listed and some of the hotspot area information is given, and then you're free to go ahead and roam and surf the internet.
Now, this newest venture with the cultural institutions, the Cincinnati Museum Center, the Art Museum, and Metro, what's this all about, Rob? And how's this sort of spread this out?
Well, I think it opens up a new demographic for us. I mean, essentially, wireless, as we see it, is enabling technology. So the whole point of the project is to make Cincinnati a more attractive place for young and upwardly mobile professionals that can choose to live anywhere in the nation. And what better way to tie those cultural centers together with free wireless access and able them to have a lunch meeting, dinner meetings, and still be able to be productive and get their work done.
Is this sort of thing happening other places? Are other cities doing this sort of free access wireless?
There are several other cities, and I think that a lot of people are seeing a lot of the press lately about that. What's different about LilyPad is that we're not using public money like the city of Philadelphia is. They ran into a lot of issues there. And eventually what that resulted in is that they aren't actually offering truly free wireless. It's not exclusive. You have to subscribe to a monthly service. On the other end of the spectrum, we're not looking at just promoting the current free wireless spots like the city of Austin is. We're going out and not only trying to partner with those that are currently offering free wireless, but we're looking at creating indigenous LilyPads as well and trying to find sponsors to hook up with those.
In fact, we can look at the website. I was playing around. Here's a map of your spaces, and there are LilyPad sites there, but there are also these places where you hope it will develop, which is on the map. We also have the website as well, which, here we go, and I was playing around with this yesterday, where you can actually click. And by the way, we'll bring this up later, but what's the website? How do people find this?
It's www.lilypadusa.org.
lilypadusa.org. So here you can get to these various places like the Art Museum, which you were just seeing, and get up and on it. So people can come. Now, you were talking about sponsors. We talked about the Art Museum, we talked about the Museum Center. Let's talk about, I also have the Hyde Park site from the website that we can bring up here. Who sponsors that?
Marge and Rich Kiley.
So individuals.
Yes, individuals, corporations, small businesses.
So the point here is people seeing this show who not only, some of us will just want to use it, but we could also, through our businesses and through our organizations or through our individually, we could get involved with this and help sponsor these?
Yes, LilyPad bridges the gap between the public and private organizations to bring free wireless to all of the consumers that use it. And that's really what sets us apart and makes Cincinnati that attractive, tech-savvy region.
And Rob, what's it cost to create one of these pads?
Well, it's
by the way, I keep wanting to call you guys frogs or something and do rivet at some point. But go ahead. What's it cost?
Well, it really all depends on the size of the access point and the size of the area that the sponsor or the community is looking to cover. And it also depends on the number of access points that it takes to cover that. So essentially, it's really done on a case-by-case basis. We'll engage Time Warner. If the wireless is not already there, we'll do a site survey and then be able to develop a proposal around that space.
So in a place like Hyde Park Square, it's not just one instruments out there. You've got to cover a pretty large geographic area. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Whereas like a coffee shop may have only one access point, an area like a park or Hyde Park Square probably has multiple.
Okay. Now, are there future ones on the line in development? Are you hopeful that some more new ones are coming up?
We have about 60 sites that we've identified that we would like to have covered throughout the region. And the thought is that you would never have to drive more than about 5 or 10 minutes to find a free wireless zone. In those sites, we're not looking to create all new indigenous LilyPads because some of those areas like Madison E-Zone may already have an effort underway that is launched free wireless. What we're doing is trying to make LilyPad the umbrella brand across the region so that visitors and residents alike will recognize LilyPad and know that that's a free wireless spot.
So you're saying, Jody was saying Madisonville, E-Zone, is there, so some communities are doing this?
There are some communities that are involved in this, and we've actually launched an effort in partnership with the Regional Tourism Network, the Enquirer, and the Cincinnati USA Chamber, as well as Time Warner, LilyPad will be installing a series of wireless hotspots along the riverfront, creating what's essentially the first intrastate wireless zone, which will hopefully be up and running come this spring in time for opening day. We're crossing our fingers on that one.
Well, we're out of time. Thank you. This is really fun, even for us old people who like to go wireless. It's not just young people. So good luck with this, and we'll see how it happens, and good luck with the Metro connection, because they're a great group to work with.
Yes,
so,
thank you.
Check out more information about LilyPad Project. Go to the website, lilypadusa.org. All sorts of information and directions can be found there, and you can find a way to get involved yourself, as we were talking about. And thank you for making Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. Join us again next week to meet the women and the men shaping our community for the future. Have a good week.